Okay, I think that we should start. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the technological support. My name is Renée Ridgway. I'm a postdoc at Aarhus University, and I'm going to be the moderator of this session. It's a breakout session of NGI, Next Generation Internet Search awardees. So I'm going to introduce the three of you briefly, and then the order of how we're going to do today's session. So from the first round, we have in person Mohamed, Amine, and Kerkouri from Aarhus University, who's going to present HeReFaNMi, health-related fake news mitigation. Then from the third round, we're going to welcome online Caspar Krampe from Wageningen University in the Netherlands. He's going to present Metavision. And from the second round, we have in person Ioana, Cheres, and Michal Topor from the Technical University Cluj-Napoca, Romania, to present, also with a live demo, MindBugsDiscovery. So first, we're going to begin with Mohamed and HeReFaNMi, health-related fake news mitigation.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being here for this presentation. I'm Mohamed Amine Kerkouri. I'm a PhD from the University of Orléans. I'm teaching right now. And today we are trying to present our project for the winner of the first call of the health-related fake news mitigation, or HeReFaNMi. Very hard to pronounce. Okay. So for those who are here in Paris, they could see that the weather is not behaving well. It's cold, it's hot, and sometimes it leads to cold. Start coughing. Some of my friends asked me, they told me that I just need to get some honey with lemon. But some random person on the internet told me that I need to take alcohol. I need completely not recommend it. It's toxic. Which leads to our own problem over here. Social media. So social media or fake news have proliferated the social media right now. Everyone is giving advice on things that they don't know anything about. They're talking about health, medical issues without the need or without the knowledge to back any of their claims. They search something or they saw some other post and they try to propagate. And this is a big problem right now. It's became a public health issue. We could see that at its clearest during the COVID, basically. So what is misinformation? Health-related misinformation, we're talking about claims that are anecdotal sometimes and with evidence that are completely individual without full research that back them up. Sometimes they are false, and sometimes, even worse, they are mostly true, but misleading. And identifying this kind of news is pretty hard. Sometimes it's hard even for experts. Let's take an example. This was a research paper. This was taken from a research paper about a study that was conducted in India during COVID. So we could see that they gave different propositions to a sample of population, and they've taken their answers. For example, we could see that a lot of people believe that eating garlic would prevent the infection with new strains of COVID. Something that was absolutely not backed up by research. And in this case, it might not be that harmful, but in some extreme cases it could. So the WHO, what are they saying? That 51% of vaccine-related social media posts are misinformation. We could see that with the anti-vax movement, basically, which is very proliferating in some social media like Reddit and things like that. 28% about COVID, which this is in duration of 2 years, and 60% for other pandemics, basically, which are usually localized. So in our context, we got some funding from the NGISearch, and we created a consortium with 3 universities, basically. So I'm from the PRISM laboratory in Aarhus University, and we teamed up with Ioana University from Milan and the CNR from Italy. Our team is headed by Assistant Professor Alessandro Bruno, a very great researcher, and also by the present Professor Aladin Chetouani, who's here, and Professor Pierre Viti Mazeo from the CNR. Me personally, and with my colleague Marwan, we are leading a team of a few interns over here. So we got 3 great interns that are working on web development, data collection, LLM and AI training, and I've also forgot to add one other intern that joined us recently. Okay, so how do we do that? Basically, we use AI. AI right now is basically the solution for a lot of problems that we could not do before. So take any kind of news, any health news, we pass through the AI, and it should tell us whether it's true or false. Or so we think. The big problem is that AI, you've seen it with ChatGPT, with Gemini, with other LLMs, they hallucinate a lot. Maybe new versions, they hallucinate less, but they hallucinate nonetheless. So how do we do that? How do we solve that? We should add a knowledge base. This is what we usually talk about in RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. Our basic system looks like this. So we have a very big data ETL system where we extract data from different sources, transform them, and load them to our knowledge base. We chose a few curated data sources for this. Our main problem is the trustworthiness of these sources. So what we chose was based on the scientific and governmental authority of the websites or organizations. Things like the NHS from the UK, CDC in the US, or WebMed, which has a high authority index on medical issues. Then we would load our data on a knowledge database. So after cleaning and all the stuff that we do, that we data scientists do, researchers do. So the goal here is to provide a curated knowledge base that the LLM could stand on while it's generating or taking decisions. So the data would be used in 2 ways, basically. First, we would use that data to train the model itself, so that it can differentiate what's false from what's truthful. At the same time, we would also keep that data, which is constantly updated. We have our scrapers or our real-time ETL system that would take any new articles and inject them into our database. So With that, our AI or our LLM system would have a big base or a strong base for its decision. Of course, we created a UI so that our solution could be interactive with the users, basically. We tried to have a minimalist look for the UI in order to make it user-friendly, basically. Or considering the NGISearch demands or regulations, we would try to open source as much as possible of this process. So we would open source our collection framework, data collection framework. So we could add new sources. We could maybe find that some sources are not working and take them out. We would also share or publicly share our data so that it could be as transparent as possible. Of course, we would share the model, code, and weights, of course, and of course, the UI for the full user system. So our project goal is to differentiate fact from fake. It's an essential project that we are trying to build a base for new generation systems that would ensure where we would ensure stopping the pandemic of misinformation and the dangers on public health. Thank you.
So now I'm going to have Caspar Krampe from Wageningen University presents Metavision. Welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. I will just try to share my screen and I hope it's all working. Just let me know whether you can see the full screen now.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Yes. Okay. Then once again, welcome. As I said, it's my great pleasure to be here and to present you our NGI project, which is called Metavision. I'm basically presenting it on behalf of the whole team. And you might have seen that also one of my colleagues actually intended to do the presentation, but unfortunately he can't do it. So that's why I'm taking over. But yeah, let me just really quickly start introducing the team and my colleagues. First of all, I would like to introduce Will Hurst, who is also closely working with me on this project. Will is an assistant professor, associate professor at the moment in XR and data science. It's also Bedir Tekerem-Dok, who is basically the chair of the information technology group here in Wageningen. And then it's me. I'm working as an assistant professor in sustainable market innovation. And we have also our creative director, Orestes, which is also the one who is probably on the program at the moment. I also have to tell you a little secret about Orestes, because Orestes is not only our creative director, but he is also an artist. And he's doing quite great work. But Orestes, as an artist, I try to just put an icon of Orestes here. Pretty hard to find one because, as you can see, it's not the same one, but it's close, coming really close. He is, he's doing quite artwork, right? He's basically painting his art. And then what he does is trying to get this art into a digital context. And he's doing that because he has a major problem as an artist. Because if you are a small artist, it's really hard for you to actually distribute your work, right? And really show it the world. And that's basically why you do art. It's probably also for yourself, but it's also because you would show that to others. And therefore, he really has the problem to distribute it to the world. And that is exactly why our NGI, or what our NGI project is about. We would like to make this art available and accessible to everybody. And we would like to do this in basically the Internet 4.0, or some of you might know it as the Metaverse. And that is really at the heart of our project. So what we try to do is basically we have a four-folded aim, right, in this project. The first one is that we want to really develop a tool, and in this case is a meta digital tool, where artists can actually upload their content and also their development and showcase their artwork. That's the first one. What we do precisely is that we actually develop a FOSS for artists to show it in a metaverse art gallery. You can obviously access this gallery by just looking, for example, at a screen in 2D, but you can also just go there with your VR headset and really go through the gallery, which you self-develop based on our tool. And I will show you in a second also some of the development which has been happening there. We therefore would also lower the barriers so that people have actually the opportunity to access artwork, right? So that's also looking more from a consumer perspective than an artist perspective. So we bring both really closely together by making sure that they can access the art in a digital context. And we obviously also share the code with everybody. As I just said, it's an open source software tool, so we make it available and people can actually work on it and maybe even change things within the code. At the moment, it's not yet totally available because we're still in the development stage, but at the moment we have it on VurHub, which is basically our internal GitHub here at the universities, as I just said, because we're still working on it. And one of the fundamental problems we also address, and I will come to this back later, is that we also have to consider the ownership of these art in a digital context, which is a little bit more tricky than in a real world where you have basically one painting at a time, which you might draw another time, but it's always unique. And in order to guarantee this, we also exploring some digital components of how we can actually make sure that you have the ownership of this particular artwork in this case. Yeah, what is our approach? We actually followed a procedural generation approach. And as you might know, you can basically follow two different ways. The first one is more an organic way where you represent the 3D environment in an algorithm and a more organic way, right? It's often used, for example, in biological science. However, we thought it might be easier, particularly if you would like to have a tool which is also easy to navigate, easy to use, and has a good ease of use. We actually followed a structural approach in which you have different components and you can actually put these then components together. I would like to already show you some of our developments so far, and I actually brought you this short video here. What you can see is that we have different objects developed, so you can basically, as an artist, develop these and look at these objects, use them. You can also really build it from scratch, right? So this is just an example. As the beauty is with our tool is that you can actually build everything, and artists are normally creative, so they can actually be very creative also in the design of their exposition and the gallery. This was just one. I actually show you also another one, which we developed here together with some partners from the university. And what you need to know is that we at Wageningen University, we are pretty much focusing on sustainability. So we try to also get a message across about the environment. As you can see here, we could put any objects in there, and you can still have the beauty of looking at art within, for example, the nature, which is it's built in here. So this is actually part of an exhibition we have here in Wageningen at the current moment. But yeah, the nice thing is that you can actually use it. Thinking even further, I think it's also important to let you know that we can also communicate not only the art there, but we can also use this, for example, for educational purposes. As you can see here, we actually made the point that sometimes also nature needs to take care of. So we have a lot of waste here, which might be distractive for some visitors, but also animate them to think about it. So you can also use this tool to actually communicate important and relevant information in this case. As I just said to you in the beginning, I think next to the fact that Orestes has the problem that he can't really show his artwork, he has also another problem, and I just shortly told you that, and that is the problem of ownership, right? It is actually very hard because once you upload your artwork, it's basically publicly available, right? Also, if you, for example, exhibit the art in our tool. So you have to think about, okay, how can you still claim ownership within the digital context? And for this, we basically exploring how NFTs might be used to grant these ownership. And to do so, we basically conduct, or are about to conduct, a structured literature review. For the people who might already be quite knowledgeable on NFTs, I think some of the researchers and also some of the industry just called them dead. That's why we basically, or I put the heading here, maybe not today, but tomorrow, because I think when it comes to a particular purpose, and not, let's say, only having a nice digital cat, which you own, but really trying to claim ownership, then NFTs suddenly, and also the blockchain technology which is behind it, becomes very relevant and very important. So that's why we don't call them that yet, right? So we really would like to explore whether they can be used in the in the artist context as particularly used in our tool. So what we do and what we did is that we basically try to identify relevant literature. As I just said, we followed a structured literature review here, and we identified a couple of them, used our requirements to actually identify the one which are relevant for our study. And we're currently writing the paper about this, next to the fact that we are developing this tool in greater detail. What I also would like to ask you today is I mean, you have just had an impression, but I think we are always open for feedback, and we would really like to ask you for your opinion of what you have just seen, what I have just told you. So if you have the time, please feel free to just scan the QR code. You can even answer the questionnaire a little bit later. And then we are quite curious about what you think. What are the next steps in our NGI project? First of all, we do now the alpha and beta testing. We also approached already small local artists and small galleries as demos. So we asked them whether they are interested in. The resonance is quite positive, so people are interested in our approach. And we would like, once the beta testing has been completed, to also reach out for bigger galleries, such as, for example, the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, to which we really would like to introduce also the tool to also get the impact and make sure that we can even do it. We can obviously also think about, and that is what the tool also allows you to just implement a digital twin of, for example, a museum within the tool, and then make sure that we even show them this one. Although this is then more, let's say, I think in the future, why really also thinking about, okay, how we can implement it on a larger scale. And we also create a 3D chocolate gallery for consumer testing for diversity. As I just said, this is really related a little bit to these more educational component, which we are thinking on, which might be also quite interesting to discuss. And last but not least, I would just like to open the floor and hear your question. And I would also invite you kindly to just follow us and our updates on LinkedIn. We try to do that quite frequently, and we did already. So every step we did in the development was basically reported, so that people can also see it and that we can reach the audience who might be interested in our tool. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for my short talk. I just looked 12 minutes, so perfectly on time. Let's just discuss, I would say, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
And now we have MindBugs. Discovery, MindBugsDiscovery.
Yeah, hello. My name is Ioana, and I'm a co-founder of MindBugsDiscovery project. So I'm together here with Mihai. We are a small team from Cluj-Napoca, Romania. And also I'm a student at the Technical University of Cluj-Napoca, but for this project, we apply with our small company. So right now we are talking a lot about disinformation, propaganda, how to detect it, how to see it. But what we did was to take a step backward and say, do we understand it? Because lies have been with us as humanity since forever, and we won't ever be able to take out lies from our life. But what is interesting right now is that lies can be funded and can be deployed in different countries and at different political times. This is what MindBugsDiscovery is about. It's about looking into propaganda and understanding this information. We do not classify, we just analyze what's happening. So our tool looks like a simple search engine, and you just type in whatever you're interested in. Right now, I will go with the political statement as Ukraine does not exist and look into how it's going on. And of course, this is going live, so it's everything up and running if you would like to test out with your own ideas afterward. In this part, we can see the search results, and we can see all the different shapes that Ukraine does not exist. It has. So it's a simple one, it's a part of Russia, it's a failed state, it's not independent, and so on. So there are different narratives. If we go on the info button, we can see where it appeared and who debunked it. Now we can go and see who debunked it if we click this button. This is the full article written by specialists. What is happening right now is that there are debunking specialists all over the world monitoring their own space, their own region. And we try to bring this information closer. So all the data that you can access through our tool is from verified fact-checking organizations. You don't have random articles or blogs. Now, on the right part, you can see the map. So where did these kind of narratives go through? You can look into what are the narratives in France or in Russia and so on. But also, when we are talking about big platforms like TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, we have this information in a particular language, which is targeting the whole globe. And this is why we cannot pinpoint exactly what country, but we can say what language. Now, in this part, you can see the frequency of the different narratives. For example, in Russia, there are 11 different narratives which have been spread about why Ukraine is not a state. While we see that in other countries like Armenia, it's only reached 1 or 2. So it reached it, but it's not so vast, because it's one thing when someone tells you a lie, and it's another thing when someone tells you a lie in 10 different ways. The probability of it being ingrained in your head is much bigger. There we have the channels, and we can see which kind of channels push this through the population. We have Sputnik, Russia Today, and other channels. So we see what are the main ways of this information to society. And in the last part, we can see the timeline. So if we look at the timeline, what we can see from the first is that this kind of disinformation started to appear, first of all, in Russia. And it started more, let's call it lightly. It's under foreign control, will cease to exist, and so on. But as we go on with the time, we see that the narrative is becoming more extremist. So it never existed, it will never exist, and things like that. And if we look at Belarus, we can see that the Ukrainian propaganda, the propaganda against Ukraine is also connected as being Ukraine an anti-Christian country. Why is that? It's because Belarus is a Christian country. This kind of propaganda would have not worked in an Arab country, for example. And this is the first part of our tool. So it's a part where you have a lot of information about a certain narrative, and you want to see the bigger picture. What has happened? How did we get here? But we also have the second part is when you start from little information, very, very little information, and you want to explore it. For this, we will go with these three results and our different narratives about USA as being evil, which some of you might say it's true, maybe it is, but we are searching for fake news regarding this narrative. So we see that here there are the three fake news that we started. So we have USA was saying a strategic defeat in Ukraine, that it was sacrificed Ukraine, and also I think the last one is about the Nord Stream pipeline. Now text has a lot of different dimensions, right? So if you click keywords, we can see what are the keywords related to these three disinformation statements. If you click channels, countries, and languages, we can see some metadata about this disinformation. So the investigative journalists who investigated this, they also said, look, it appeared on this channel, in this country, in this language. So right now, what we are starting from is a graph of interconnected text information. For example, USA is the common keyword of all of three, which makes sense. Now, let's go and look into the Nord Stream. So maybe we are wondering, here is the Nord Stream. So maybe we are wondering what other kind of USA's evil is connected to the Nord Stream. Behind in the left, this one.
Yeah, sorry.
So what other kind of disinformation is connected to the Nord Stream regarding USA's evil? What we can do is just click expand, and the system will bring other disinformation related to that. So we can see that, just click. Yeah, we have another USA blew up Nord Stream. This is, so USA blew up Nord Stream so that EU would arm Ukraine. And we see that it brings other information. Now, I think it's a bit too busy, the graph. Yeah, maybe hide the keywords, and let's delete the fake news on top. Yeah, no, this is about, yeah. We can also delete some of the notes so we can explore it more easily. Now, what I would also suggest to do is let's look at one of these channels in which they propagate. So we have frustrat.ro. Now, we might say maybe just one fake news appeared on this channel. Are there different fake news? So is it a regular channel for these kind of narratives? And we just click expand. And we can see now that there are a lot of different fake news which appeared on the same channel. So it's not a random channel. It didn't appear random on this channel. It's widely used. What we have here is a different way in navigating through data, through text data. So we have information that we get out of text, metadata of this text, and we can explore it in a graph way, what we are doing. Yeah, these two parts are of MindBugsDiscovery. This is the project that we developed for the NGISearch, and we are really grateful that someone supports us in doing what we love. And if you can just open the website with the team. So I work mainly on this project. I worked on the AI part. Mihai is a full stack developer. We also have Cotruța Simina, who is an investigative journalist in Romania focusing on disinformation. We have Antonia, which is a UI UX lead, who makes sure that journalists and other people who are not tech savvy can use it. And not on here, quite new, is Marana, who is a specialist in communication. So how do we talk about what we do so everyone can get a grasp of it? Yeah, thank you all for your attention, and if there are any questions.